house is breathing. The walls creak and grumble as the cool night air threads amidst its shingles and beams. Lungs of wood and brick and asphalt. I hear it sigh as though beset by some distant thought. A regretful memory or beliefs about what might have been. The house is old, and its timber bones are even older still. What might those trees have seen in the centuries of their lives before being slaughtered for my shelter? What have they heard while hidden behind plaster walls? I know what they hear tonight. Tonight they hear the skittering of parasites. There are no rats that make the noise I hear between my home's groaning breaths. I've laid snares and traps and poisons, but nothing is ever caught. I've called upon the man who deals in crawling critters and unwanted pests, and even he cannot tell me what it is I hear at night. In the dark, nearly masked by all the other, subtler sounds. A scratching which comes just as my eyes close. A scraping that pulls my mind from its descent into slumber. My hypnagogic state is interrupted by the feeling of a hand reaching out inches from my ribs. My eyes linger on the crack of my bedroom door, expecting to see a face in the dark. A slender figure running a jagged nail across drywall and flaking paint, but nothing is ever there. Only the sound and the feeling. It's been a month, and my body can barely move. My sister comes to check on me. I haven't been returning her calls. I can no longer remember the messages she leaves. I'm struck by the lines on her face, the soft wrinkles around her eyes. How much time has passed since I last saw her? I'm glad she's here. I ask her to stay the night, and she agrees. It rains. Thunder rumbles across the sky in sluggish waves, its bassy sound lingering amidst the white noise of the thousands of water droplets crashing into the trees, and into the roofs, and into the concrete sidewalks. It's soothing. The night passes, and I hear nothing but the stormy weather and the sound of my sister moving through the house. It's 3 a.m. She soon goes back to her room. In the morning, she tells me that there's a rat in my walls. I smile, and we say our goodbyes. She doesn't need to know. Sleep comes more easily that night, and it comes even easier the next. The sound is gone. Perhaps it really was a rat. Perhaps it decided to move on. Perhaps I'd only been imagining it after all. My sister calls the next week. She asks if I'd ever gotten the rat taken care of. I had, I lie. She asks me for a reference for my best man. She says she hears the same scratching in her walls. She says she's laid snares and traps and poisons. I hesitate. Should I tell her? I give her the pest man's number. I know that he won't solve her problem. I can no longer hear the scratching, but my sleep is troubled once again. A month goes by, and my sister's son has taken ill. At first, he wasn't sleeping, and then he was overtaken by a fever. Soon, he was receiving bedside care from Dr. Oliver. All he talks about is that sound, my sister tells me. He spends the night calling for me, she says. But last night, he was silent. This morning, he'll no longer wake. I ask to come and stay with her, and she agrees. In the dark of that unfamiliar house, I hear the child's wheezing breaths. I hear the muffled sound of Dr. Oliver leaving for the evening. I hear the creak of wood and the crackling of smoldering embers in the bedroom's hearth. It's winter now, but my cheeks are flush. I hear the wind outside. I hear the distant howl of a stray hound. I hear a scratch and a skitter from between the walls. I feel an unseen face gazing down at me from the fluttering shadows. At the edge of the bedroom's crown molding, my blood fights against some invisible force, but I tell myself to accept it. In the morning, my nephew's fever has broken. The doctor says that the worst has passed. I leave for home, feeling a weight in my chest and in my stomach. My hands tremble as I turn the brass doorknob. I place my keys down, and the house is filled with a vacuum of silence. There is a man in the kitchen doorway who I cannot see. There is a hand mere inches from the back of my neck. Ragged breaths are hidden behind insulated walls, their sounds lost into the void. I know that tonight, sleep will never come. The next evening, I travel to a local pub where I take up conversation with an older man whose name is lost to me. We talk about the quiet, pleasant things that those with manners like to do, then soon move to the nuance of more sophisticated language, spoken with a light touch on the shoulder, playful words whispered with lips closer to the ear than needed. As the night grows late, he suggests that we leave together. I say that I have good wine at my house, and he comes to my house, but we don't drink any wine. In the morning, I leave before he wakes. I take my breakfast at a cafe across town and stay late into brunch before returning. The man has left, but there is a note upon the kitchen table, some simple pleasantries, and a phone number. The mention that there may be a rat inside my walls. I throw it away, then have a bath to wash away the grime and sweat of the night before. I try to soothe my mind of what I've done. I sleep fitfully that night, though the skittering sounds have once again gone. The only sounds I hear